Hey there, demon dwellers and darkness devotees, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're trading in our usual dimly lit basements for the rolling green hills and, let's be honest, probably still dimly lit pubs of Ireland. Now you might be thinking, Ireland? That's all leprechauns, lucky charms, and really pale people who wear sweaters in July, right? Wrong. Okay, maybe not entirely wrong about the sweaters, but trust me, there's a darker side to the Emerald Isle. We're talking about a history so chock full of hauntings, tragedies, and straight-up spooky shenanigans that it would make even the most hardened skeptics sleep with the lights on. And by lights on, I mean every single light in the house, plus a nightlight shaped like a Care Bear for good measure. So buckle up, grab your favorite pint of Guinness, or, a Capri Sun if you're like me and not a fan of weird room temperature beer, because we're about to dive headfirst into the top 10 disturbing small towns in Ireland hiding pure evil. Let's go. Our first stop on this journey into the heart of Irish darkness takes us to Kilkenny, a charming town with an even more charming nickname, Ireland's medieval capital. Sounds delightful, right? Like something out of a fairy tale, with knights and princesses and maybe a dragon or two thrown in for good measure. Well, hold your horses, Lancelot, because things aren't always what they seem. You see, Kilkenny's history is about as far from a Disney movie as you can get. We're talking about a time when superstition ran rampant and fear was the driving force behind, well, pretty much everything. And nothing screams fear quite like a good old-fashioned witch hunt. Kilkenny was notorious for its witch trials, with one particularly nasty case centering around a woman named Dame Alice Keitler. Apparently she was a bit too good at making potions and hanging out with her cats, which back then was basically a one-way ticket to being burned at the stake. So, yeah, Kilkenny's got a dark side. But hey, at least the architecture is pretty, right? Just try not to think about all the potential ghosts lurking around every cobblestone corner. Speaking of ghosts and things that go bump in the night, let's talk about Kilkenny's most infamous landmark, the Black Abbey. Now, I'm not saying that this place is haunted, but I'm also not saying it. Built in the 13th century by a bunch of Benedictine monks, who, let's be real, probably knew a thing or two about spooky stuff, the Black Abbey has seen its fair share of death, destruction, and general bad vibes over the years. We're talking plagues, wars, and enough whispered tales of ghostly monks wandering the halls to make your hair stand on end. Some say you can still hear the echoes of their Gregorian chants late at night, which, honestly, sounds like a terrible way to start your morning. But hey, if you're into the whole paranormal tourism thing, then the Black Abbey is definitely worth a visit. Just maybe bring a crucifix or a salt shaker or something. Just in case. Alright folks, let's trade the cobblestone streets of Kilkenny for something a little more, shall we say, windswept and desolate. We're heading to a chill island, the largest island off the coast of Ireland, and surprise, surprise, another hotbed of spooky history and unsettling vibes. A chill island is known for its rugged beauty, dramatic cliffs, and, oh yeah, the ghosts of thousands of Irish people who died during the Great Famine. So, yeah, maybe pack a raincoat and a therapist. The island was hit hard by the potato blight in the mid-1800s, leading to widespread starvation and death. Entire villages were wiped out, their inhabitants either succumbing to hunger or fleeing the island in desperation. The remnants of these abandoned villages still dot the landscape, serving as a stark reminder of the horrors that unfolded there. And, as you can imagine, with that much tragedy concentrated in one place, it's no surprise that a chill island is said to be crawling with restless spirits. Alright, buckle up, Buttercup, because we're headed to Kildare, home of the Curragh. Now this ain't your average grassy plain. This place is steeped in folklore, and not the fun kind with leprechauns and pots of gold. We're talking banshees, fairy rings, and dark tales to make your hair stand on end. Picture this. You're strolling through the Curragh and stumble upon a circle of mushrooms. Harmless, right? Wrong. These are fairy rings, portals to the other world. And trust me, you don't want to be caught in the crossfire when the fairies are feeling frisky. They say the veil between worlds is thin here, explaining the strange encounters and unexplained phenomena. People have reported seeing shadowy figures lurking in the mist, hearing disembodied voices whispering on the wind, and feeling an overwhelming sense of dread that sends chills down their spines. So if you ever find yourself in Kildare, pack your salt, your iron, and maybe even a 4-leaf clover. And whatever you do, don't stray too far from the beaten path, especially at night. You never know what might be lurking out there in the shadows. Okay folks, get ready for a real tearjerker because this next stop on our spooky Irish tour is Charleville Castle in County Offaly. And trust me, this place has seen some things. Built in the late 18th century, it's got all the makings of a classic haunted house. Secret passageways, creepy portraits staring down at you, and a tragic backstory that'll make you want to sleep with the lights on. The star of our show, or should I say spook, is a young girl named Harriet. See, Harriet was the daughter of the castle's owner, and one day, tragically, she took a tumble down the main staircase and, well, let's just say it wasn't pretty. Now legend has it that Harriet's spirit never left the castle. People have reported seeing her ghostly figure flitting through the halls, her laughter echoing through the empty rooms, and her toys mysteriously moving on their own. Some even say they've felt a cold spot or a tug on their clothes, as if Harriet herself is reaching out from beyond the grave. And it's not just casual visitors who have experienced Harriet's spectral presence. Nope, even seasoned paranormal investigators have flocked to Charleville Castle, eager to document the strange and unsettling occurrences. And let me tell you, they haven't been disappointed. We're talking EVP recordings of children's voices, unexplained temperature drops, and even full-on apparitions caught on camera. It's enough to make even the biggest skeptic question their sanity. I mean, when you've got teams of paranormal investigators with their fancy gadgets and EMF readers freaking out, you know it's gotta be something real, right? But Harriet isn't the only ghost rumored to haunt Charleville Castle. Oh no, this place is like a paranormal party, with spirits from different eras all vying for attention. There's the grumpy old groundskeeper who still patrols the gardens, the heartbroken maid who hanged herself after a love affair gone wrong, and even a spectral monk who likes to pop up in the chapel from time to time. It's like a ghostly Airbnb, except instead of leaving a 5-star review, you might just leave with a chilling story and a newfound fear of the dark. So if you're ever feeling brave, or maybe just a little bit crazy, book yourself a night at Charleville Castle. Just don't say I didn't warn you. Ahoy there, mateys, and welcome to Kinsale, a picturesque fishing town on the southern coast of Ireland. Beneath Kinsale's charm lies a dark history. In 1588, the Spanish Armada met a stormy fate here. The Nuestra Señora de la Rosa sank, taking treasure and souls with it. Legends say their spirits still roam Kinsale's shores, searching for lost treasure. Charles Fort, a 17th century fortress, is haunted by soldiers and the White Lady. She searches for her lost love, forever bound to the fort, Kinsale, where charming pubs and ghostly tales coexist. Cheers! Alright, buckle up because we're heading to Clonmel, a town with a past that's darker than a pint of Guinness left out in the sun. See, Clonmel was basically witch trial central back in the day, and we're not talking about some silly Halloween decorations here. We're talking full-on accusations of sorcery, demonic pacts, the whole 9 yards. One of the most messed up cases involved a woman named Alice Keitler. Alice managed to escape, but her alleged satanic shenanigans cemented Clonmel's place on the creepy map of Ireland. Now you might be thinking, Shane, this all happened ages ago. Get over it. But there's something about Clonmel, a lingering sense of unease that just hangs in the air. Maybe it's the old buildings with their stone walls that have absorbed centuries of fear and suspicion. So if you ever find yourself wandering through this town, keep your wits about you, and maybe try not to make eye contact with any stray black cats, just to be safe. Okay gang, let's talk about Roscommon Town. On the surface, it's a charming little place, all rolling green hills and friendly locals. But scratch beneath the surface and you'll find a history that's as bleak as a winter night in Siberia. At the heart of this darkness lies Strokestown Park House, a grand old estate with a past that's more tragic than a Shakespearean tragedy. Now, I'm talking about the Great Famine, a period in Irish history so devastating, it still sends chills down the spines of anyone who hears about it. See, during the famine, millions of Irish people were pushed to the brink of starvation. And guess what? Strokestown Park House was right in the thick of it, a stark symbol of the inequality that defined that era. The owners of the estate, they were living large while countless others were struggling to survive. And it gets worse. Behind the manicured lawns and fancy facades of Strokestown Park House, there's a darker, secret mass graves. These weren't just any graves, my friends. These were the final resting places of those who perished during the famine, their lives cut short by hunger and despair. Now I don't know about you, but the thought of mass graves just sends shivers down my spine. It's like the very ground beneath your feet is soaked in sorrow and suffering. And that feeling, that palpable sense of sadness, it permeates every inch of Strokestown Park House. Visitors have reported feeling a cold, oppressive presence, hearing whispers carried on the wind. Some even claim to have seen shadowy figures lurking in the hallways, remnants of the souls who perished during those dark times. Look, I'm not saying that every creak of the floorboards or rustle of leaves is the ghost of a famine victim, but there's no denying that Strokestown Park House is a place steeped in tragedy, a place where the echoes of the past still resonate strongly. So if you're ever in Roscommon Town and decide to visit this grand old estate, be prepared. It's not just a historical landmark, it's a testament to a dark and painful chapter in Irish history, a place where the veil between the living and the dead feels terrifyingly thin. Alright, let's switch gears for a second and head north to Ballygally, a picturesque coastal village that's home to, you guessed it, another haunted castle. Because apparently in Ireland, if it's got 4 walls and a roof, it's got at least one resident ghost. This time we're talking about Ballygally Castle, a place that looks like it was plucked straight out of a gothic novel. And the star of our spooky show? None other than Lady Isabella Shaw, whose tragic tale has been passed down through generations. Now, the story goes that Lady Isabella was a bit of a looker, which back in the day, was basically asking for trouble. Her husband, being the jealous type, decided to lock her up in a tower, like some kind of medieval damsel in distress. But this ain't no fairy tale, folks. See poor Lady Isabella, she didn't get her happily ever after. Legend has it that she either starved to death, jumped from the tower in a desperate bid for freedom, or maybe even a combination of the two. The details are a bit murky, but the ending, well, that's crystal clear. Tragedy, with a capital T. Now you'd think that after such a rough go of it, Lady Isabella would have decided to haunt a more glamorous location. But nope, she's still hanging around Ballygally Castle, probably still ticked off about the whole locked-in-a-tower thing. Guests have reported hearing her footsteps echoing through the halls, a soft, mournful sound that sends shivers down the spine. Others claim to have felt a cold spot in certain rooms, a sudden drop in temperature that can only mean one thing: paranormal activity. And then, there are the sightings. People have described seeing a woman in white, her face pale and sorrowful, drifting through the castle as if searching for something, or someone. Look, I'm not saying that Lady Isabella is going to jump out and yell boo, but if you're ever brave enough to spend the night at Ballygally Castle, maybe pack an extra blanket. You know, just in case you get a sudden chill. Chapter 10. Loftus Hall. This place is messed up. Okay, so we're nearing the end of our delightful tour of Ireland's most messed up towns, and trust me, we're going out with a bang. Loftus Hall, just chilling near Hookhead, is like the most haunted place in all of Ireland, and let me tell you, that's a high bar. The story goes, back in the day, this mysterious dude showed up at the hall. Nobody knew who he was, which, red flag number 1, right? Anyway, he gets chummy with the family, hangs out, plays cards, normal stuff, until one night during a card game, a servant dropped something, bent down to pick it up, and bam, saw that this dude had hooves. Hooves, guys. Naturally, everyone freaked out. I mean, wouldn't you? Imagine playing poker with Satan himself. Dude probably cheats. Anyway, the mysterious stranger, aka the devil, got spooked and bolted right through the roof, leaving a giant freaking hole. And the kicker? They say the hole has never been properly repaired. Some say it's because of structural damage, but I like to think it's because the devil wants an easy way back in. You know, for a rematch. Now, I'm not saying I believe in all this, but Loftus Hall has attracted more ghost hunters than a graveyard picnic. And these aren't your average run-of-the-mill ghost hunters either. We're talking big leagues, folks. Teams with fancy equipment and everything. They've reported all sorts of crazy stuff. Weird noises, cold spots, objects moving on their own. You know, the classics. Some have even claimed to have captured EVPs, those creepy electronic voices that'll chill you to the bone. I'm not saying it's ghosts, but it's definitely ghosts. Look, all I'm saying is, if you're planning a trip to Ireland and you're looking for a good scare, put Loftus Hall on your list. But be warned, you might not come back the same. Actually, scratch that. You definitely won't come back the same. This place will mess you up. Chapter 11. Leap Castle. Oubliette, more like, oh hell no. Alright, buckle up buttercups because we're about to dive into the deep end of creepy with Leap Castle. This place, located in County Offaly, is like the granddaddy of haunted castles. Seriously, they don't get much more haunted than this, folks. This place has seen it all. Murder, betrayal, intrigue, you name it. It's like a soap opera written by Stephen King. One particularly gruesome story involves this room they call the Bloody Chapel. Catchy name, right? It's where a whole bunch of people were supposedly murdered during some family drama. Because what's a family reunion without a little bloodshed? Am I right? But wait, there's more. During renovations, they found this little hidden gem called an oubliette. Now, an oubliette is a fancy word for a dungeon where they used to toss people to die. And when I say toss, I mean literally throw them in and forget about them. And get this, when they finally opened up this oubliette, they found a mountain of human remains. A mountain. I'm talking enough bones to make a skeleton army jealous. So, yeah, Leap Castle is basically a giant haunted house party, and everyone's invited. Except you, because I wouldn't wish this place on my worst enemy. People have reported seeing all sorts of ghostly figures wandering the halls, including a creepy little girl and a horrifying creature they call the Elemental. And if seeing ghosts isn't enough to scare you off, There's also the poltergeist activity. Objects flying across the room, doors slamming shut for no reason, you know, the usual. Basically, imagine the most haunted house you can think of, then multiply it by 10. That's Leap Castle. Look, I'm no stranger to creepy places, but Leap Castle is on a whole other level. It's the kind of place where you can practically feel the bad vibes seeping into your skin, so if you ever find yourself in County Awfully, do yourself a favor and just keep driving. Chapter 12. Outro. Well folks, that wraps up our whirlwind tour of Ireland's most messed up towns. I hope you enjoyed the nightmares I've undoubtedly given you. Be sure to hit that like button if you're brave enough to visit any of these places and subscribe for more questionable life choices and spooky adventures. Until next time, stay spooky!